on different aspects of the topic impactful communication. I also welcome all honorable organizing committee members, Vice Principal ESD Misal sir, Junior College Supervisor Ravindra Karanje sir, Dole ma'am, Dr. Sudhir Garad sir, Ambadas Khillare sir, Dr. Patwari sir and Dr. Wadkar sir. We all are eager to listen the keynote speech. But prior to it, I request Dr. Anita Dole ma'am, please introduce to honorable invited speaker. Please ma'am, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, one and all. You are welcome to this grand, successful webinar series. On occasion of Golden Jubilee Year of the college, Shri Kumarswami Mahavidyalaya Ausa has organized a wonderful, grand knowledge sharing webinar series. Respected Principal and Chief Organizer Dr. Bedkar MM has arranged this series with the motto of Women Empowerment and Women Dignity, and this series is going on very successfully and systematically because of the efficient and motivational personality respected Dr. Bedkar MM and all the resource persons and punctual participants. So I am very thankful to respected principal for giving me this opportunity to introduce a resource person on this virtual platform. Many special thanks goes to organizing committee members and a big thanks to all the respected participants. Those are joining daily from all over India and abroad also, and they are making this series a very successful series. So I am very happy to introduce today's keynote speaker, Honorable Dr. Pearly Jacob ma'am, who is a consultant, ex-HOD of St. Aloysius College, Jabalpur. Today's topic of presentation is impactful communication. Dr. Pearly ma'am has completed MBA. She is NET qualified and she achieved PhD degree. She is IQSA Director and Dean of Management and Commerce. Beyond the profession, she worked as chairperson, nominating member at YWCA. She also worked as advisory committee member, as a board member, leadership development coordinator in East Africa and India. She published a book with title Indian Stock Market Dynamics. She published a number of research papers on national and international levels, and she published a chapter in books also. She has completed 2 minor research projects and given the number of talks as a resource person in seminars, national and international conferences, etc. She got Best Teacher Award by the Pastoral Conference, Jabalpur. She got Best Paper Award. Her paper was selected in top 10 listed papers in FDI education sector. She has travelled abroad and worked in East Africa. She is very talented and specialized in administration and coordinating, good motivator and writer. She has number of skills like leadership, motivational communication, team building, and she is Publiance certified reviewer. So after this introduction, I would like to request today's keynote speaker, Honorable Dr. Pearly ma'am. Please start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Bedkar. Thank you so very much that you have given me an opportunity to be a part of such a wonderful seminar. Thank you so much, all the participants who are here. I'm very privileged and grateful to each one of you for being here and lending your ears to hear what I have to speak. I'm thankful to God that He has been with us and given us an opportunity to, during this COVID time also, He has given us a chance to build ourselves up and enhance our knowledge and be connected to each other. So thank you, everybody. My topic today is impactful communication. I hope you can see the presentation. No, is it visible or not?
No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So the topic is impactful communication. We all know that we are beings which are not isolated, that we need to communicate with one another. But moreover than just communicating or speaking or sharing our ideas, much more important is that we are able to get what we want to do or get from others what we want them to do for us, right? So basically we think that communication is a one-way traffic or one-way way of broadcasting, but we hope that somebody will listen to us and somebody will understand us. But this is not impactful communication. We have been trying to communicate in multiple ways. We have technologies that have developed in wonderful ways, like this webinar is going on. We have the technology that now we can use WhatsApp and we can be connected to people. We have multiple ways and means in which we are able to communicate. But still we are hearing of number of cases where divorce rate has increased. We are hearing of employees leaving the organizations because they find themselves not being accepted, and there are times that the boss doesn't hear them, and so they feel they are rejected in that organization, they are not worthwhile in that organization. So this leads to a situation where there is a high level of stress and dissatisfaction. The reason is communication. Children do not feel that the parents understand them. Parents do not feel that the children understand them. So what are we talking about? We have talked a lot about being good communicators. We have had communication workshops. We have tried everything. What is the missing link? Where are we faltering? What is the reason why people are under such a huge level of stress? I see in my organization over here, when the chancellor disseminates or the vice chancellor disseminates some information and sends orders, it's very rarely that the orders are fulfilled. The reason is because the communication has not been proper. What is the faltering? Where are we faltering with communication? So here is what I thought we should be concentrating on, and I worked on the area of communication. So I found that the greatest key to being a good communicator is to be able to have an impactful communication. It is not the number of words that we use. It is not the number of words that we use or the eloquency of our speaking. It's not about that. It's about being able to get what we want from others. It is all about reaching their heart and getting what we intend to receive from them. So this is a new concept, impactful communication. It's a new approach to communication. Basically, it is for successful and productive business outcomes. It's about putting verbal and non-verbal engagements in such a manner that we become a hallmark of persuasive leaders. We can be persuasive leaders only when we are able to communicate in a way, whether it is verbally or non-verbally, and we are able to share with them what we intend to receive from them. Now, how does it impact? How does impactful communication impact? It affects relationships, because one must never forget one factor, that we are dealing with human beings And when we are dealing with human beings, we are dealing with people who have intellect, and they also have something which we call it as emotional setup or EQ. And when we have an EQ, when we are emotional beings, every communication results in some form of emotional connection or emotional transaction. Now, whether it is an official communication or it is an unofficial communication, both affect us in some form of or the other in the emotional realm. How does it affect? If your boss says something to you and it's a command, you are under a stress or a pressure to function and to be able to finish that task. If you are unable to do it, your stress level starts increasing because you know the repercussions of what is going to be the next. So somehow it starts affecting you as a person. So that's why when we are talking about impactful communication, we are talking about relationships. We are not isolated beings. We are not people who are disconnected with emotions, but we are emotional beings. And therefore we must remember that it affects every form of relationship. One time you are having stress at the workplace, you are definitely going home with that level of stress, and you are going to disseminate that same stress to your family, to your spouse, to your children, to your family members, and this is going to affect your family. So our emotional well-being is the most important thing when we are talking about impactful communication. So it is not about us alone. It is about the other party. If it is about the subordinate, if it is about the superior, they are also experiencing the same thing. Now, we must remember that when we are talking about impactful communication, it connects us with our thoughts and our feelings of others also. So it is a two-way deal. It is not just isolated to the intellectual part of us, or it is not just isolated to the functional part of our human being, but it consolidates to the complete wholeness of our human being. So it leads to, if we have impactful communication, it will lead to much more understanding and allowing problem solving creatively. How does it happen? See, if you are able to understand the other human being, if you are able to understand what the other person is going through, if you understand what your subordinate is coming with, what is the baggage the person is carrying, and when that person is carrying that baggage and coming into the office, definitely there is going to be an effect on the working, and it will be affecting his communication. When you are sharing a particular task to be done, when you are giving an order, what happens? The person is not able to actually process the whole order because he or she is actually carrying the baggage, and so the processing is affected. But if you're able to understand what the person is experiencing and you're able to connect with that person at that level, at the level of that person, then you are going to build up mutual understanding and you will be able to solve the problem creatively. This we experience even in our classrooms. We are not able to engage our students because the student is having multiple problems. They are youngsters, they are young adolescents, they are experiencing n number of situations and circumstances. There are family situations, there are limitations, there are constraints, there is stress related to their studies, there is stress related to the examination, there is stress related to the assignments, and they have stress related to relationships. And when they come to the classroom, they are not able to engage in a proper way. But if we are able to connect and have an impactful communication with them, which will lead to an understanding level, and there we can be able to solve these problems creatively. Now, how does the impact of impactful communication is actually? Let us see how does it facilitate
Hello.
change. Yes, sir.
प्लीज पीपीटी कंटिन्यू करा ना मैडम.
Sorry?
पीपीटी कंटिन्यू करा.
It's not visible?
Only first PPT is visible.
Okay. Can you see this one?
Yes.
Yeah, this is what I shared about how it affects the relationships and the feelings, and I talked about how it affects the problem solving creatively. How does it impact how does impactful communication actually impact? So let us see how does it impact? It actually facilitates change. How does it facilitate change? When we are talking about interventions, and when we are talking about development, and when we are talking about bringing a change in the organization, if we want that, we have to first let the employees envision what we are envisioning. And this has to be disseminated in the most clear and lucid way. Once we do that, once we are able to drive into them the feeling of growth and development, when we are able to build them up and we are able to encourage them to put their thoughts together, to be working together, when we are able to do that, we are talking a common language, and this brings about a change in their whole working style. Now, this is very mandatory. Why is it mandatory? Because when we are talking about how we can best impact when we are talking, when we are communicating, we need to be able to engage people. Unless you are able to engage the people, unless you are able to touch the heart, if you're not able to touch the heart, if you're not able to bring about that connectivity, that is knowing that they are emotional beings and touching the emote part. Unless we are not able to touch the emote part, we will not be able to bring them to that level where we will carry them to the interesting journey of going along with our vision. Impactful communication also leads to creative thinking. Creative thinking comes only when you are engaged, when you are in a situation where you feel you are part of the team. If you are not able to collate the people, if you are not able to connect with the people, if you are not able to bring them together, then you cannot, bring about creativity even in the problematic situation. Now, how does this innovation comes into being? We are talking about impactful communication. We are able to bring in communication impact. We are able to bring in innovation. It's only when what we say is what we mean, and what we mean is what we say. There is no dicey talk. And when the team is able to understand, there is no dicey talk. That we are all talking the same thing and we are on the same platform, on the same page. If they are able to know that you are honest, authentic, and believable leader, then there will be followers. Like Dr. Betka, he was able to engage the people. He was able to put the people together. It's not an easy task to be putting the people together and coming on the platform every single day and doing this kind of an activity. It is not an easy thing to do. But because he was able to drive in the vision that he has for the institution, and when he was able to drill in that, and everybody participated into it because they were talking the same language, and this was his impactful communication. Therefore, everybody is right now doing the same thing and fulfilling that vision. Now, once you are able, this is why we need to know whom we are talking to. That is why we need to understand our audience. That is why we need to see what is happening with them. We cannot be a distant leader. We cannot be somebody who is somewhere on another level altogether. We have to connect with our audience. We have to connect with our employees. We have to connect with our team and drive in that vision. And that is when the impact will happen. Can you see the next one? Can you see this? How to have an impactful communication. I use the term LAVA. That is, first is listen. And throughout this whole two things rather. One is remembering that we are dealing with emotional beings, and two, that we need to listen. Most of the time we do the talking. We are only talking and we are only listening to what we want to listen. And because we keep talking, we cannot listen. And therefore there is no impact in our communication. Therefore the greatest task is to be a good communicator is to stop and start listening. So listening is the key factor. Listening is the first and the foremost. Second thing is acknowledge what you're listening. Once you have, you have heard something, you need to acknowledge what has been said and ask, validate whether I heard is appropriate or not. Is it what you meant? Is it what you mean to say? Like we were having a conversation with Dr. Becker, and he shared with me at 6:55 you have to be on 20th at 6:55 you have to log in. And I heard it, but then I needed to validate it. I needed to know it properly. I needed to acknowledge it. So I asked, is it 6:55 on the 20th? Is it? And then he was able to say yes. When he said yes, then I knew that I have come to check it twice, and I knew that it was correct. So ask, validate whatever you are hearing. Whatever you are hearing, you just counter-check, counter-ask whether you have heard it appropriately. Ask empowering questions. Ask questions that will actually help you solve the problem that you're facing. If you have a very abstruse situation, you are having a situation where you need to really brainstorm and get a solution, you need to first quiet yourself and go through what is the situation, understand the situation, and then ask valid and empowering questions. When you ask valid and empowering questions, that is when you will be able to actually hear properly what is being said. Now, how does it function in organizations? How do we actually impact in the organizations? There are basically two pillars that we need to see. As I said, we are human beings with two setups in our, one is the intellect part and the second is the emotional part. So similarly, we have to build up not only our hard skills, we have to build up our soft skills. Organizations, most of the time we face people are unable to communicate. So we have to build up their vocabularies, their language skills. And if we are lacking on those areas, if our languages or vocabulary is poor, we need to engage ourselves in building our vocabulary. Secondly, we need to know how to email, how to write letters. So email management is the second important thing, because we might have multiple ideas how to solve it, but if we do not know how to write it, we fail. So we need to know how to write, and that is very, very important. Building our writing skills, and also when it comes to organizations, we need to report, we need to share what is the situation, we need to give presentations, and therefore we need to have not only PowerPoint skills, that is just preparing the PowerPoints, but also we need to have presentation skills. How do we present what we have written on the PowerPoint skills? We do not need to write a huge amount of material on the PowerPoint. I'm not going to go write only what are the key points, key areas, fighting battles with other people. And when this happens, there is a lot of conflict that happens in the organization. And then again, you will be engaging in having politics in the organization, you will be engaged in conflict management, and this will lead to disruption.
5 एकरला काय काय कधी 20 यायची आधी हा हो नॉर्मल शर्ट आहे तर धुवायला आलो होतो सगळे ऑफिसला घालून जायचं मशीन आहे अरे कळ लागले कसं तुझे काय नाही काही सुद्धा नाही बघतो तू एक दोन शर्ट तू दाखवतो मला आल्यावर हो नक्कीच नक्कीच काय
सामान आम्ही मोठी बॅग थोडी मोठी पाला आहे